Okay, I wanted to do a really short episode here on the COVID-19 crisis around the globe. If you want to call it a crisis, I do call it somewhat of a crisis. We lost sports. We lost a lot of businesses. And part of me says I think it was just completely overblown, like everything. Losing all the sports. Part of me says you could have played all the sports, just not really having fans in there, but I suppose it's redundant to play sports and not have fans and sell tickets. So for that, I suppose I understand that portion of it, but we also lost a lot of businesses and people in industries, and a lot of industries are going down as a result of this thing. But I just wanted to share the statistical information for people who are concerned about how deadly the acquisition of this virus is. And so what I'm looking at here is yesterday's March 30th, 2020. This came out, and I'm looking at the age death rate. So the title reads, while the data sets don't line up exactly and the numbers themselves vary, the changes in death rates by age of those with coronavirus diagnosis are similar between New York City and elsewhere in the United States. So I want to kind of look at this. I don't know if I can blow it up or not. I don't think I can, but if you can see on the bottom left, it says 44 to 54. That's just kind of a middle-aged number. It's 0.5% in the United States, the death rate between 44 and 54. So that gives you an idea of how little you have a chance of dying from this thing. All right. If you get 65 to 74, it jumps up to 2.7%. That means you have a 97.3% chance of surviving it if you're under 75 years old. A 97.3% chance. I'll take those odds all day, every single day. Okay, so to me, when I look at the numbers mathematically, it's completely overblown. And I'll tell you why I think it's the right thing to do, though, to do what they're doing. But the numbers are indicating that this is really, 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 really overblown. Like really bad. Okay? And then the right side here is New York City. And if you notice in the middle, it's got 45 to 64, and it goes. So this range goes all the way up to 64 from 45, whereas the other one went from 45 to 54. When you did that in New York City, you jumped up to 64, you added about 1 full percentage point to the death rate. So it went to half of 1% in the United States, 45 to 54. And 1.49, 45 to 64. I have a sneaking suspicion that the extra 1% was from people that were over 60 or over 55, probably. And it's 1%. We're not talking about an extra 10 or 15% here. And then if you look at the last one on each one, it's over 85 and then over 75. So when you look at this, you could basically say that this infection, the death rate is essentially an old elderly person's infection. I will venture to say right now that you will look back when this is all said and done, and people might even say, oh yeah, COVID-19 or coronavirus, that was like an old person's infection, right? Old people died from that. So when people, I want to put the mania and the panic in perspective here on this. If you are under 75 years old, have a very, very, very slim chance of dying from this. Like you're probably at about a 96 to 97% chance of living, and that's the worst case scenario. If you're under 55, you have about a 99.5% chance of surviving. I will take a 99.5% chance survival, or even a 98.5% chance survival all day, every day. I'll take those odds into any casino in the entire world with me, and I'll run with those sort of odds. I have no problem with that. So if I were to acquire this infection tomorrow, I'm feeling very, very confident things are going to turn out in my favor. Okay, and I think you should also. This panic and mania is really media driven. Really, really media driven. One of the reasons why I think it's probably a good thing to not go out and do all these things. Their model projections are indicating that the acquisitions or the acquiring of the actual virus are going to ramp up in April or something like that. As a result, the death rate's going to go up higher and people are going to spread it to like old people. So they've never really came out and said that this is going to be spread to old people, but really what this is all about is don't spread it to the old people, like really old people, because that's who's going to die from it. The only other areas are the people who have prior underlying conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure / hypertension, or lung disease, who have had like COPD, or people who smoke cigarettes a lot. Those sort of people can die also from this, and they can be young. So that's where that smaller percentage of people who die come in, I think. But overall, I just want to make a video on this so that people understand that this is not a disease or an infection you're probably going to die from. If you were to get this infection, it might be more of a godsend, because what would happen is you would get it just like the flu and you would get over it, and then you'd be essentially immune from it. So you could just walk out in public and it's not really going to be any sort of worrisome issue for you. Okay? There's no real data of young people dying from this in large groups. But just keep a perspective of it. What they're trying to do is stop the spread of it, but I don't think they're ever going to be able to stop the spread of this thing. There's going to be no peaks. There's going to be no this there. I don't think there's going to be these type of curves they're talking about. This thing is just it's going to keep going across the country. It'll come back like in October, November when it gets cold again. It'll wane a little bit, because that's where they're saying the waning is going to come into play, the April, May, when summer starts coming in. And it'll just come back again. Everyone in the United States will get this eventually. And there'll be a lot of old people that might die from it, like plus 85. This is really what the honest actual numbers are indicating, that this is going to be just like a flu. But it transmits a bit faster, a bit more aggressively. And the death rate on it is just a little, is higher for older people. So if you're under 65, the death rate's a lot better. But if you have coronavirus and you're over 65, it's a little bit worrisome. It's not to say you're going to die from it. It's just a little bit worrisome. So I just wanted to put all these numbers in a perspective for you, and I don't want to downplay the actual virus, but especially trying to mitigate the transmission of it. But I do think the numbers are indicating that some people out there are taking this as if they're actually going to acquire it and die the next day. That's how panicked people are. So I don't want people to get that freaked out about this thing. All right? Thanks for listening.